Hi, this is Dan and Dave from GE Inspection Technologies, and welcome back to our series on the operation of the Mentor UT. In previous videos, we've connected our equipment, we've run through a calibration and acquired a scan, and we've covered some of the analysis techniques that are available on the instrument, some of the measurement tools and analysis techniques that are available on the instrument. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about saving that data so that we can come back to it and view it later or review it offline. So we might want to go out to a pipeline, acquire a lot of information, move quickly since maybe it's uncomfortable in the field, and then come back, say, to the hotel room in the evening and analyze the data we collected that day while having a nice beverage in the lounge. So we've acquired our scan, it's recorded. At this point, I have a couple of different menus available to me on the instrument that are going to help me work in terms of saving and so on. On the navigation bar along the bottom of the screen, all the way to the right-hand side, you'll see three buttons. The right-handmost button is a screen lock. I should have mentioned that in previous videos. When it's locked, when you see the hand with the X through it, that means none of the other touch stuff is going to work on the screen. Handy when you're out working in the field so that you don't accidentally change a setting. For our purposes here, we have two other buttons. One looks like a barrel with a gear behind it. That's actually a rendering of an old-time disk drive, and that tells us that's the Files menu. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. You notice when I touch it, a list of options pops up. There's another button here with a little camera on it, and that's where we would generate a report or a screen capture. So we'll come back to the reports and screen captures in a second. For now, I want to save my data. You see I've got quite a collection of data already saved on here. The instrument has automatically created a file name for me. It's the name of the app that was used to collect it, along with the time and date. Handy shortcut. If I just hit save now, it would go ahead and save. If I want to change that, I come in, I touch the file name, I can clear or backspace, I can type a new name, close the keyboard, save it. And in that case, I just saved the file name Dave. And it takes a few seconds. These files are quite lengthy. I believe a scan of the demo plate is 600 or 700 megabytes. So they're quite sizable files. But now at this point, I could close this app. I can come back later, open the app back up, reload that data set, and I'll be right back to this screen with the same data in front of me. Something else I can do, if I just wanted to take the thickness data that I've acquired here and export it into a form that would be easy for me to work with in Microsoft Excel or some other spreadsheet program, I can export a CSV file. All right, and the parameters that are used to set up the gridding for the C-scan for the CSV files are in, I believe, the analysis menu of the C-scan, and you'll see a grid scan and a grid index. So I've acquired my data on a 1 millimeter grid going this way and a 1.5 millimeter grid going the other way. 1.5 millimeters is the pitch of my probe. It's difficult to scan in that direction any finer than the pitch of the probe. And I've said, for efficiency's sake, I want to take a reading every 1 millimeter as I roll my encoder back and forth. So if I wanted to look at this data a little bit more coarsely, say I was only interested in the most interesting thing within a 5 millimeter grid, I could say 5 millimeter in the scan direction, 5 millimeters in the index direction, and when I turn grid view on, you'll notice the look of my C-scan changes considerably, because now what I've done is I've taken that 1 by 1.5 millimeter grid and coarsened it to 5 millimeter squares. So I see actually a little bit less information on the screen, but the instrument has taken care of making sure I'm seeing the thinnest thing, the thinnest sample within that 5 millimeter by 5 millimeter grid. And the grid is important because when I choose to export to a CSV file, that is what will be saved in the CSV file, will be that 5 millimeter by 5 millimeter grid. So I will get fewer numbers in my CSV file, in my spreadsheet, than I would get if I had stayed at 1 by 1.5 millimeters. So a little bit less resolution, but a smaller data set. So later on when you go to load that into Excel, you'll have fewer sample points to deal with. You can always open the analysis menu and go back to 1 by 1.5. And you notice now my C-scan has its original appearance, and I could go back here, export CSV, save, and now I also have a CSV file at the full resolution of what I acquired. So let's say we'll hit the clear, get rid of that data. Oh shoot, what'd they do with it? Well, I can come back here, I can load data, and I can find Dave, was the file we just saved, September 20th. And I tell it to load that data, and you'll notice it will load the data back into the C-scan in the same order in which it was originally acquired. So had we stopped and moved back and forth with our scanner, you would actually see that happen in this data as well. We save all of the original data exactly as it comes from the signal processing of the instrument. All of the raw data, all the C scans, all the A scans, all the gate readings are all saved together, and that's what makes it possible to come back and analyze this data in different ways. So again, just like we did before, we can open up our analysis menu, and we can reset our gain to the original if I can get dialed in here. Get the gain back where it was when we originally acquired a scan, go back to 0. Having a little bit of trouble with my wide fingers hitting the appropriate and there I'm back to 0 dB. So now I'm back to where I originally acquired the scan. Two other buttons that are very helpful there are two other items very helpful in documenting your test are screen capture and report. Hit the little camera button, choose report, and it automatically names the report with the name of the app and the time and date, and we'll do a screen capture as well. So a report is a PDF file that's generated that contains all the critical parameters of the instrument along with a screenshot. Screenshot is a simple JPEG file. So now to access those items that we just saved, I go to the settings button, nav bar, left side, and choose the second button in that looks like a collection of pictures. And what I see here is a file folder for each one of the apps that I have on the instrument. So we're going to go into our corrosion demo app, and here's a list of all the files that are saved along with the app. So we see about 3/4 of the way down the list is dave.memd. That's the dataset file that we just saved. If I go up here to the top and say just show me the reports, I can say filter, reports, and it gives me a list of the reports that I've created using this app. See, I have one here from September 20th. If I wanted to view that report here on the instrument, all I need to do is put my finger on the report and hold it for a second. It'll pop that report open in a PDF viewer. I can go from page to page. So I have all my instrument settings, and there's the screenshot that shows what we were looking at when we saved a report. So down here at the bottom of the nav bar, there's a miniature of the pile of pictures button. That just closes the previewer and takes me back to the file list. If I say images, you'll see some JPEG files saved here. Here's one that we saved today. Again, if I hold my finger on it, it'll pop open a preview or a JPEG viewer that shows me that screen. Okay? If I wanted to copy those off so that I could view the report on a PC or on some other device, you'll notice here I have a little different connectivity module plugged in. I'm using this as part of the video recording setup here with a wired Ethernet. But I also have a USB connection, USB memory stick. Down here at the bottom, I use the select location button. Tell it I have a USB drive. Now I have a split view. On the left are the files, the images that I have that were under the Corrosion Demo Kit app. On the right-hand side, I have what's on my memory stick. You notice I have a pretty busy memory stick here. I can drill down into subdirectories. You see I have a folder called videos. I'm going to select that. On the left-hand side, I'm going to touch the little circle to the left of each of the files, and I'm going to select those two files. You notice they turned blue when I did that. Now, down here at the bottom, on the right-hand side, there's two important buttons. There's a trash can, which is delete. I could delete those files, but what I want to do is upload those two files to the video folder on my memory stick. I hit upload. Now those files have been copied over to the memory stick. Okay, so at that point I can close, I can go back to File Manager, I can go back to my app, I can pull my memory stick out, take that to my computer, and I'll have my two screenshots that I can look at on the computer. And with that, we'll wrap this video, and we will see you next time with a new subject. Again, this is Dave and Dan for GE Inspection Technologies, and thank you for joining us.